All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Patrick Hawe. I'm an associate member of T3 Trading Group, which is an SEC registered broker-dealer, and member of FINRA SIPC. All trades placed by myself are placed through T3 Trading Group. You should carefully consider whether trading is suitable for you in light of your own financial condition. Please pause the video, read this disclosure, and position update. No new swings for me yet. I almost wanted to add some today, but decided to wait on that. Because the market, the buyers are not here yet. Will they come? Maybe, maybe not. They will eventually, but perhaps at lower levels. So let's get into it, although there's not too much to get into. So past few days, market really has not been doing a whole lot. We had a slight update today. So 2 days ago, decent gap down to start the week off. Germany had really bad, I think it was the PPI over there, so bad inflation numbers that, perhaps started to scare people a little bit. And perhaps this was just pretty much overdue anyway, which I need to really look at the weeklies more often. Sometimes I forget sometimes I will during the week, and then sometimes I forget for like a week or two. But we discussed the weekly candle last week. And just after this weekly run, we had a weekly shooting star last week. And even when this wasn't a shooting star, let me make sure that you guys are saying. Oh, okay, good. Just making sure that you guys weren't saying I'm not good or anything. Anyway, so after last week's weekly candle, even when this wasn't a weekly star and this was like a green doji, we're just looking at this and saying, look at this candle up here with the ADMA down here. I mean, is this a better buy or a sell after 4 pretty nice green candles in a row? Green candle number 5, is this a better buy or a sell? Probably a sell, but definitely not a buy. So now this week we're having just a bit more of that price correction. But it really mostly came from Monday's gap down, and then Monday was the daily candle looks pretty bad, but the action on Monday was really, really, really slow. Just started the day really, really weak. We got down to this 414. We broke down from this 414. Never had any real capitulation. Never had any, much of a strong bounce at all. This bounce was like 75 cents or so, maybe $1-ish. Then maybe like a little bounce into the close. And then yesterday, we're saying, okay, we're still up, we're a bit oversold after yesterday. We're hoping for a gap down. Don't really get a gap down. Pretty flat market. Still looking like market could bounce a little bit just because on this daily chart we're slightly extended to the downside from the ADMA. And yesterday we really didn't do anything at all. And that was followed by now today. Similar but different to yesterday in that it was kind of a nothing day. But, the market did close higher than it opened. But flat open this morning as well. Open flat, market ticked down, then back up through highs, which, looking back, that was the low of the day there. And IWM really led us in strength. Someone had mentioned, I forget who brought it up, but shout out to whoever brought it up, this V bottom in IWM, where you come down, you have like an ugly red bar, and then pretty quickly within a few bars, basically without stopping to bull flag in the middle or anything like that, just pretty much straight up through the high. And the Qs did the same thing as well, but IWM definitely showed kind of like the violent upside move there. But so markets, open flat, traded down, right back up through their highs. That was the low of the day. This IWM was really impressive early on, and then pretty much fizzled out into nothing really. And similar with SPY here, up through the high, builds this wedge off of 412. We get 1, 2, 3 to 4 tails off this 412. Break this wedge up, and then really just kind of chop and slop. Machines kind of fighting each other here. VIX was able to bleed down a bit in the middle of the day, but overall, looking at this daily chart, one could so I talked about it at the end of the day here. That's what happened this week so far. Now, what are we looking for going forward? So pretty much 2 scenarios are building out here, at least the 2 that I see. So we got NVIDIA coming out tonight. in, I think, 4 minutes. This isn't out yet, right? No, yeah. 4 minutes, so we'll try and take a pause there just to see what that does. But pretty much two scenarios are building out, and it's just, bullish, bearish, with this Jackson Hole seeming to be a bit of a catalyst. And it's not so much, it's a mix of it being a catalyst and a mix of us doing nothing into it. Like if we were doing, if we were here and Jackson Hole was in a couple days, we'd probably be looking for a down move as opposed to a big move either way, right? But we're not really having too much of a move into it, especially this week. We're just kind of going sideways into it. So it makes it more, I guess, possible and probable that Jackson Hole could be the event that breaks us one way or the other. But scenario one is basically this 412 level, which was really evident today and a bit yesterday as well. And it's obviously not, these SPY levels aren't perfect where they just perfectly hold here. But you can see it yesterday and today, this 412, right? Hopefully you guys can, pretty much notice that. And again, it's not perfect. I know this tail's below it, but it's definitely a bit of an inflection point. Scenario one is we base this 412, which we're also kind of getting from back here as well a bit. We base this 412 and then break up and try to run at, we pretty much are, 412 and 415. 414 we were able to sort of get above today, but we failed at 415. So 412 we're basing. If we can base it, Jackson Hole sends us up because Powell maybe says something dovish like inflation kind of cooled a little bit, but it means the data is working, so we're going to chill out and let this data work a little bit. Market has an up move. 415 is your up trigger, and that could easily, I know this day AD is coming back down a bit, but that should be able to get us to 420 or so. And then the flip side is he's saying this inflation's still way too high. Like, you guys think that was cooling? That wasn't cooling at all. Inflation's still way too high. And he's very hawkish, and that could break us down through 412. So basically, technically speaking, we're either possibly building a base out, something like this, right? Where like you have a down move and then you possibly bear flag, but you end up, not breaking down, your candles close well, and then you have a little bit of an up move. I know we came right back down here, but I'm just talking about the days following ahead. Or this just ends up being a bear flag, and this 80, that could be the catalyst that sends us down. The video is coming out in a minute here, but that could be the catalyst that sends us down. And if we lose this 412, next is 410, and then below 410, it starts to get a bit dicey till 400 again. I think, the video's coming out in like 30 seconds or so. But yeah, so I think, that's what we're looking for going forward. We'll see if NVIDIA moves the market at all here coming up shortly. But Jackson Hole on Friday, and those are really your two scenarios. So, it could just be the theme of his speech. It could be literally a one-liner that he says that moves us one way or the other. But if he sounds a bit dovish, 415 is your up trigger. And if he sounds really hawkish, so far 412 is your downside trigger. Let's see if NVIDIA does anything here. Usually it's 420. If it doesn't come out in a couple seconds, I'll keep going. But this is definitely the last big one that people are waiting for. Nothing yet. Alright, well, I guess I'll keep going. I'm surprised this isn't out yet. Oh, here we go. Wow, big down move initially. Wow. Is that... Yeah, wow. Those just printed those 166s pretty fast there. They're out. I don't see numbers yet, if anyone has them. But so far, not a good reaction. That's for sure. We closed at 172 about, so 161 would be that options move. So EPS beat, revenue miss, still looks like. Gaming revenue down pretty bad. These revs 5.9 billion, estimated 6.9 billion. That's ugly. Getting bought back up a bit here though. Getting bought back up well. That just got bought back up pretty nicely. We'll see, Brand. I mean, they're putting buying pressure on this. But, yeah, definitely options market makers winning so far. I don't know how. I don't know if they announced a buyback that I'm not seeing yet. I'm also surprised it's not crushed. Well, anyway, I'll get back to it because this isn't really doing too much here. They're buying it back up into a seller. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the 173 was selling before. That's like what really sold. Yeah, 173 area. All right, well, we'll keep our eye on that. But anyway, I'll get back to it. But that was pretty much. I mean, that was pretty much it. Actually, I was pretty much wrapping up on the market for just what to look. What happened before, what's happened this week, and then really what to look for going forward, heading into that event Friday. Obviously, NVIDIA being pretty unchanged here is not really going to move the market if NVIDIA is not moving. So that's the market in terms of trades today. We had a few on the list, but nothing was too fantastic. Definitely some work though. So I'll just go down from what I had. So Farfetch is at acquisition news. We talked about through 9 for momentum. Either through 9 or versus 850 is what we said in the morning meeting. And we definitely noted to be careful that just all these were gapping up with the news. So even though they're gapping up well and it's good news and they're trading pre-market, don't just blindly buy it off the open because of the gap up. But so Fetch we mentioned either 850 or 9, so sold off. But again, this is the same V bottom pattern where this can't like come up halfway and then bull flag and then like go up. Like it doesn't need to be bar for bar, but it needs to do it in a non-pausing fashion. But yeah, right back up through 9. So this paid a bit. I think a couple of you guys caught that. BBBY had the financing news this morning. This, I would say, didn't really work, and we definitely were not gung-ho about this. I wouldn't even, I guess this went through high, and you could have bought it through the high, and if you trimmed on the way up, you could have gotten paid a little bit, but nothing too great there. Getty, I don't even think I looked at this one today. Yeah, Getty, not great. We mentioned 30 and 29. Failed off 30, bounced 29. Very, very thin name, though. I think once I saw how thin this was, that kind of got it off my radar. TTCF, Tattooed Chef. Again, another news name. Walmart distribution news. We mentioned 7 as a momentum level. I would say not great. I guess you could have gotten risk covered through this. Bumped its head up against 777, gets pushed up with equilibrium through 7. Maybe you could have gotten your risk covered, but not really great there. Definitely can't call that momentum. CDEV, a lot of you guys were in, and maybe you were able to keep this. This somehow didn't break, or did it end up breaking the low? It must have, right, over here. So maybe you got stopped out of that, but really, really slow name there today. The daily chart still looks fine. Definitely a little bit extended here on a day 3 up. Ideally, this can go sideways at $8 while equilibrium catches up, because this 8 is a level. So, it's closing above 8, definitely a good close, but a day 3 up, a little bit extended there. See if that can go sideways for you at 8. It did by a penny. Yeah, it's definitely annoying. What else? SoFi. So they had like the big block of shares being sold that was allegedly being done by SoftBank, as well as the Biden student debt news. I would call this a bit of a disappointment. It was trading pretty well pre-market, and then Derek talks about it pretty well. The stock is just so thick; it doesn't trade all that well. Pretty big volume today, and not a great candle. Definitely a disappointment from SoFi there today. Still holding this 6. This 6 is a pretty big level here, so it's not totally broken, but this could have traded better today. Market didn't give it a ton of help, but not a great day from SoFi there. Peloton is getting sold on Amazon. This one worked. We mentioned, 12. We pretty much said 12 is good. 11.50 should definitely hold. So 12 definitely worked. You had to buy pretty early. But the volume was really the big tell. If you notice, I don't even know how to show it really. Yeah, look at this. That's a 2-minute chart. You shouldn't only be looking at 1-minute charts, but just to give you an example of like what we mean when we're looking at this opening volume, look at this opening volume just right, like immediately right away in the first couple minutes compared to what it usually looks like nothing, and then immediately way higher volume than usual. So that's what you look for, and usually if you're looking at a 5-minute chart, when that's happening in the first 30 seconds of the day, this volume bar, all you got to do is just look at the prior day and see what it usually looks like, and I could almost guarantee you in 30 seconds into today, this 5-minute volume bar was probably up here, aka higher than any volume bar done in the entire day yesterday by far, and it's only been 30 seconds or so. So that's how you get those early reads on, maybe you should be chasing this gap up because the volume is very significant. So that was Peloton. Worked well off the open, but not not great intraday price action really. Pretty choppy and kind of sloppy there. Daily chart, wow, huge volume there. Yeah, huge volume. We'll see what that can turn into. The stock's been a disaster and hasn't been able to go at all, but really big volume there. So we'll see what that can turn into. And then the only other thing I really had was Tesla through 900 on just the relative strength that it's been showing. Just look at this daily candle yesterday compared to the Qs and SPY. Just really nice relative strength yesterday. coupled with the split that is coming starting tomorrow, I believe. So we come in tomorrow, Tesla is going to be like a $300 stock. Yeah, so just coupled with the split news and relative strength, we were just looking at Tesla 900, which did pay but ended up rolling over. But even just the relative strength off the open too, we were pretty good about finding that. Just look at the first, couple minute bars here where, SPY gaps flat slash down and sells off, and Tesla gaps up and has like a green bar to start the day, and then market comes up, breaks that high of the day, where this is, the market's trying to go from green to red. Tesla's going from green to more green. So that's what you want to buy, relative strength. Like that's relative strength. That's what you want to buy. So yeah, Tesla 900 paid a bit and then ended up rolling over. Not a great close there. And then that splits tomorrow. And that's pretty much it. Energy was nothing great today. Good close. But these energy names probably need to chill out, I'm guessing. Yeah, it's extended, but it's not crazy. This could definitely keep going. And oil looks pretty good as well. But this top of the range, this 79 to 80 area is the top of the range. So oil could have another update tomorrow and then might run into trouble at 80. Banks had an okay day. We did mention watching banks for a bounce, but those were not easy to trade. And then TLT still heading down, rates still heading up. Definitely something to keep watching. And the dollar ended up rolling over a little bit, but closing okay. And it's trying to time correct this 29 level. So the dollar improved a little bit, but this daily chart is definitely more bullish than bearish for sure. So got to keep watching the dollar. And yeah, that's all I really got. We'll see what happens on Friday when Powell speaks. Looks like Nvidia is still not really doing too much. And yeah, that's it. So any questions, comments, concerns, complaints, feel free to share them now. Definitely been it is the last week of August pretty much. So it's been a slower week, but not exactly unusual for this time of the year either. Thanks, Austin. Scroll up in the VTF, see if I missed any questions. Turn this scroll thing off. Scrolling through. I don't think I'm seeing any questions. Anyone got anything today, or? Market's not giving us too much, so it's not a huge shocker that we're not really seeing any questions, but I'll give everyone another chance here to ask any questions. Otherwise, we can definitely call it. Would you have stayed away from AMD today? Well, I did stay away from AMD today. And I definitely missed that intraday bounce it gave. But when you're buying AMD this morning, and not you specifically, I'm just saying like in general, if you're buying AMD this morning, you're buying relative weakness in it's all about just where's the stock, where's the market, what's the market doing, what's this doing, what's that doing, putting the pieces of the puzzle together and trying to make a very complicated thing, aka the market, as simple as possible, without giving yourself analysis paralysis. But so when you're buying AMD, a relatively weak name this morning in a market that is neutral and uncertain, you're just giving yourself you're just challenging yourself more. And it's not that hard to just see, like, what's the market doing, what's this doing, and what's a Tesla doing, or Apple is relatively weak as well. But like, you're buying, I mean, the market doesn't even look like this. The market was breaking up, had made day highs, and was holding lows while AMD was making lows and lows and lows. It's not impossible to buy this and like catch a good move, but buying when you're buying a relatively weak name in a neutral, uncertain market, you're really betting that the market is going to break up. Like, that is really what you're doing by doing that. Because what do you think is going to happen to AMD? AMD bottomed at 10ish, a little bit after 10, as the market wedged out and then broke out of its wedge and made highs and grinded up a bit. What do you think AMD is going to do if the market doesn't break up here and then just like kind of rolls back down and then rolls over? It's very unlikely that a market correlated, relatively weak name is going to magically get strong as the market, which is neutral, gets weaker, right? So like, you're really, I'm not saying like you need to stay away, but just like recognize, and I don't think it's too hard to recognize here. And if you didn't before, hopefully this will help you in the future. But just recognize you're buying relative weakness, and therefore like you're really, really betting that the market's going to hold in or go up. Because it's just, it's not impossible, but it's very unlikely that if the market were to go from being neutral to weak and sell off today, that AMD is going to magically get stronger. It's just unlikely. So relative strength and relative weakness is a very powerful thing. And yeah, I don't know. I guess that's it, really. I mean, again, just the Tesla relative strength this morning. It's no wonder why this 900 trade worked. It was relatively strong. It makes sense. And then if you think, the market's really going to roll over, like, yeah, maybe you look to go and short Tesla. But if you think, I know this like ended up rolling over today, but usually you're thinking, even if it's just the market's going to break up, you want to go with relative strength. It's usually, you're going to make your life a lot easier. So, yeah. Hope that makes sense and helps. Rollins says AMD is good for a swing. This AMD 90 is a pretty big level. That daily chart is not great. Regarding not letting winners turn into losers, if I have a small lot size and there's a breakout and then it retraces and stops me out, should I be closing my position before I let the play go against me? Let me read that again. Regarding not letting winners turn to losers, if you have a small lot size and there's a breakout and then it retraces and stops me out, should I be closing my position before I let the play go against me / stop me out? Or should I... It sounds like what you're saying is just a failed trade. Like, you're not getting your one-to-one kick and you're not covering your risk. And the answer is you should let it stop you out. You shouldn't let... If it hasn't given you your risk and the trade just fails, then, that sucks. But many a times I have made the mistake of not giving a name or a trade to the proper out too early in the trade. It's different when it like starts to give you your risk covered and starts to go in your favor, because then you can start to say, okay, like, now that this is going, it shouldn't come back down here, yada yada yada. But if it hasn't gone yet and given you your risk covered, then yeah, you just gotta let it stop you out. But you gotta have the proper out too. You can't just be given a random 10 cents or 25 cents. Like, you gotta have if you are doing that, I mean, you can do whatever you want, but be ready to buy it back. Like, don't just give it a random 10 cents and then have it stop you out and then not buy it back when it starts to break up and go, right? But otherwise, you got to give it the proper out. So, and it's gonna come from pivots on the 5-minute chart, but even better on the 15-minute chart / daily levels. So yeah, just stick to the fundamentals. I've done it before and I've done it enough times to not do it anymore, where something almost gave me my 1-to-1 kick, but didn't quite do it. And then it came back down and I moved like I used to do this when I was a newer trader. And then I would move my stop to my price because I didn't want to lose money. And I feel like almost, I don't want to say like more often than not, but more often than not, it would stop me out like to the penny and then go and like really go. And me trying to save myself $100 and I end up not making, $200-300 or more or whatever. So yeah, so again, my answer is, let it stop you out, stick to the fundamentals, buy the ticket, take the ride, but make sure that your out is a good out. And if you can't afford the risk, then take less size so you can afford the risk and you can trade it properly. And you can always scale up as you get more consistent and make more money. You can scale up. So just trade it right. Yeah, hope that makes sense. Going forward, would I consider today's weakness in VIX products bullish, bearish, or neutral? Good question, Rich. Let's take a look at our VIX and VVIX daily charts. So sell-off today in the VIX, and I did see that with you, Vixie, but a sell-off from extension, not even down towards the ADMA. Ooh, VVIX had a pretty big sell day. You could try to make an argument that this is looking more bullish than bearish. If this is going to predict anything for the future, you could make an argument this is more bullish than bearish, because that's like arguably negative deviation from the VIX, right? Like the VIX is holding up, but this isn't. And this bottomed before the VIX went up. This bottomed before the market came back down. This was grinding up before the market came back down. Usually looks out like a week or so. So yeah, you could try to make the argument that this is looking more bullish than bearish. But the VIX itself is similar to the market, where is this going to come crashing back down? And if so, the market is going to break out from this range that we're in, break through that 415 and go to 420, or is this going to pivot off its daily ADMA and go back up and Powell says something really hawkish and we break down 412? I don't know, but I know it's going to probably be one of those two scenarios. And if I had to pick, I would pick this is leaning bullish based on today's VVX candle, unless this candle's negated fairly soon. Yeah, good question, Rich. Glad you asked that. Anything else, or are we good for today? Let me check YouTube. What time on Friday do they mention? Just a question from YouTube. Powell speaks on Friday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern time. I'm not sure if they're gonna like release press. Sometimes they release the speech right at 10, like the entire thing. Depending on the event. I'm not sure if it's gonna be that or if it's just gonna be him talking. But 10 a.m. Friday morning. All right, looks like I got through all the questions. So yeah, we'll see what this market does tomorrow. But if we gap down, I mean, either way for tomorrow, it'll be fun to focus on NVIDIA, because either way for tomorrow, I mean, if we gap up, we're gapping up into a downward ADMA. If we gap down, we're not really extended to the downside all that much. And if we don't gap, then we don't gap. So I don't know. It's kind of like a tricky-ish setup for tomorrow, but hopefully Jackson Hole resolves this a bit. So yeah, we'll see what happens and go from there. Oh, looks like I do have a question. Could you talk about how to enter a strong breakout stock at the open? How to move stops? Yeah, sure. I guess we could use Tesla today, for example. Although this isn't even quite at the open, but usually a breakout with the out is usually similar to a stock that runs away from the open. Let me know if you have like a good example, but I mean this should help. Usually you're trading a breakout similar to like news almost, in a way where usually your out is just the low of the bar that is either going through the level or has the volume. So Tesla today 900 running up into the level. Does it break it here? Wow, it actually doesn't break it there perfectly. That's kind of lucky. It doesn't quite break 900 there. Breaks through 900 here. Let me just make sure that this doesn't stop you out or anything like that. No, looks fairly clean. Yeah, that 900 break. So yeah, you got to know your level. You buy through, if the volume's there, it's relatively strong, it's looking good, you buy through the level. Most of the time your out is going to be the low of whatever bar is triggering that. So usually that's going to be a 5-minute candle. Hopefully that's enough to get your risk covered. If it's too much risk, you can try and be cheap and kind of just give yourself a little bit of random space where it's not like 10 cents, but if it's really too much space, sometimes you can try and be a little cheap there. But usually just the low of that 5-minute bar. And then again, you don't want to change your stops until at least you're getting your risk covered. But for the most part, you just trail it however you normally would trail it, because it's very possible for Tesla to have a move to 905, come back, retest 900, trade 89.99, and if you move your stop, you get stopped out, and then it goes back up. So usually you just want to trail the normal way, but that's pretty much it, actually. And then if you're gapping above the level, like you did for Piton today, you just watch for that volume. And if the first bar is good and the volume's good, then you can take it. If the first bar is bad, but the volume's good, wait for it to go back up through the high. The low of the breakout bar, not the previous 5-minute bar. You could use the previous 5-minute bar, but that's probably going to be too much risk, too much space. Baba today was non-stop up. Well, it wasn't a breakout, but it was through a level. Right, this 90. Yeah, I mean, same thing, really, just really strong volume. Look at like a fairly normal day in Baba. Its volume is usually around this level, and this morning very, very, much higher. So good volume there this morning. Maybe you don't catch it like right away or anything like that, but I'm pretty sure we were looking at this before this 90 triggered. I'm almost positive we were looking at this before this 90 triggered. And this 90 level is definitely a level. Mixed, so coming into a level mixed with good volume, going straight up when the market is, just chopping around, good relative strength. And then, I mean, goes through 90 on this bar, tails back down, but if you're using the low of this bar as your out, you do not get stopped out. So goes through 90, comes back down, retests 90, and then takes right off there. And that was pretty much that. So yeah, I mean, that looked viable through 90. How about plug today? Big volume, first 5-minute bar. I don't know what would put plug on your radar today. I don't remember if there was like news in this or something. So I'm not too sure what would put it on your radar, but this is this is like kind of like the V-bottom thing that I mentioned. So opens, so say plug, I'm not sure why it was, but plug's on your radar today. You're looking at it for a long off the open. Maybe this 27, upper 26 is 27, you're thinking is going to break out or something like that. But if it's on your radar, the move here is basically it opens, you're patient the first couple, the first minute or two, it's shaking around, it's not doing too much. You see it tail down, but then you see it tail back up, and then pretty much right away, like this doesn't come down, chop sideways a bit, and then kind of go through the high. This comes down and then goes right back up through the high. So I don't hate buying this through the high. Your stop is either the low of this bar or day lows, but day lows might be a bit too much. But just through the high. Through the high is a pretty good trade one if you have like everything else around it going for it, such as like the V bottom tactic where like it's like a Max Payne thing almost. Like it's hard to buy high and expect higher. I totally get that. But you think shorts are excited here if if they're shorting off the open and then this is going right up through high. And the volume's there as well. The volume definitely helped you there too. Pretty solid volume the first couple minutes compared to what these looked like over here. So yeah, through the high, I think it was doable there. Cool. Anything else or good for tonight? JD went through that 57 as well. Talked about that 57 level. What's NVIDIA doing? NVIDIA's back down a bit. Not down too much though. Shouldn't hurt the market too much, but we'll have to see what that does tomorrow as well. Yeah, it's recorded and posted on YouTube automatically. Should be anyway. So yeah, it'll get uploaded to YouTube, the Derek the Trader YouTube page, which I can post for you here. But all right, cool. Looks like I got through everything. Oh wait, sorry. Hi Pat, what period is on the chart for intraday and how many days back? This is a 5-minute chart. That's not my phone, but it's probably just gonna ring in the background unless I go turn it off. 1 second. Sorry. Yeah, 5-minute chart. This is 1 day. This is 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. So each one of these, kind of gray lines is a day. Is it a bad idea to keep NEO overnight? I'm in the money 50 cents. Well, it's good that you're in the money. I like this NEO daily candle. Volume's not terrific. And this 18 is a level. This 18 is definitely a level. Yeah, I mean, hopefully it's sold a little bit. I know 50 cents isn't a lot, but I would sell like some of that for sure. But yeah, I like the candle. I like the candle. You gotta hold it till today's low. You gotta give it back to 18. But I like that daily candle for Neo. So yeah, I think you could keep. I think you could keep that. All right, now it looks like I actually did get through everything. Um, so yeah, we'll see how we gap tomorrow. And actually, there's one more YouTube question, CCJ. Oh yeah, so CCJ had a big update on it was Japan, like Japan nuclear power plant news, right? Something like that. So just a big day one. We talked about this 25 level in the morning meeting, and then 26 as well. So went right through both of those. Going forward, I wouldn't want to see this back below 26. This 26 is a pretty decent level here. So I definitely wouldn't want to see it back below 26. It probably starts to flag out and take some time here now. It's a really big candle, really big day one. So could it give a day two? Sure, but I mean, look what happened like over here, right? And then you get kind of this pause. So I'd expect this to pause out, but you wouldn't want to see CCJ back below 26 going forward. All right, thanks everyone. We'll see how we gap tonight and go forward from there tomorrow. Have a good evening.